Dice Daddy proudly presents The Lair of the Vampire King, a Mörk Borg death trap dungeon made by a 5-year-old by Assar, Nohr, and Johan, Nohr. The Lair of the Vampire King. One of the biggest struggles I've noticed that people have when trying to come up with a one-shot or a D&D campaign of any kind really is how much time and effort it takes to actually get going into their story that they want to get into. This is a great example on how to do that super quickly to just toss your players directly right in. The Lair of the Vampire King just tosses you right into the action. There's only 4 rooms in this dungeon. You don't need to have some super long, convoluted, structured out dungeon in order to be successful and make a cool campaign. You just have to have a couple really good rooms and a cool-ass boss design. That's all it takes. We're going to start this deep dive right in the back of the book here. The making of this adventure. This is how Johan describes the process of actually making the magazine here, the one-shot. The Lair of the Vampire King is an adventure by my son, Assar, who was 5 years old at the time of the writing. All the locations, creatures, treasure, and devious traps are his creations that he originally drew and explained to me. I then wrote them down and made some minor adjustments in favor of playability. Some of the names were added by me, and some of the items and descriptions in the dungeon were run through a kind of Mörk Borg filter, giving them a hopelessly dark medieval tone. I also tried my best to plausibly stat the creature's abilities and powers, the lair's traps, and let's be real, sparse treasures, all while aiming to keep the original tonality and creative vision impact in the end. The end result is a bizarre, cruel, and extremely lethal dungeon crawl that is absolutely not made to be fair to intruders. But I mean, that's how a Vampire King's dungeon haunt should be, right? Here follow Assar's original illustrations and maps that I smugly decided to redraw because I'm an adult and a pretentious artist. Enjoy. Johan, Nohr. The Vampire King. The Eye. And this is all that he got really to go off of in order to make this. The Lair. Entrance with the attic. The Vampire King's quarters. And a mine ant. Okay, now that we see where the ideas all came from and how it came to fruition, let's take a deep dive into this magazine here in this dungeon. I'm really excited for this one. The loathsome Vampire King must die. Pack your bag and grab your blade. The time has come to slay the Vampire King. This is a dungeon delve for Mörk Borg by a literal 5-year-old, recorded and refined by Johan, Nohr, his dad. Fucking love the artwork to this one already. Super spooky. The loathsome Vampire King must die. For centuries, Velvaz, the self-proclaimed Vampire King, has been warring against the monsters of the land, perusing sovereign rule over its humans. A few years ago, this frenzied crusade got the last human killed, leaving the two forces locked in a pointless war over the rule of none. The Vampire King hiding in his shadowy lair, and the monsters roaming the lands, searching for a way to thwart the magical barriers shielding its iron fortress. No monster can ever enter it. But what about humans? And now you've arrived. What a coincidence. Journey through Sharkash's brambled outskirts to his Adumbral Den and slay him once and for all. You can keep any treasure that you find. The Eye. As the player characters travel to the Vampire King's lair, they encounter one of the last remaining monsters of the region, a being only known as the Eye. This 3-legged eye, stalked head-footer, is scouting the grounds for activity and can tell the PCs what he knows. Several other monsters have attempted to breach the lair defenses, but failed and have been captured. The lair has a magical surveillance system, and approaching it head-on will certainly raise the alarm. The Vampire King spends most of his days sleeping in his lair. At night he can be heard walking around in there. The lair may have other entrances, but the Eye has not found any yet. Looks like you can fight the Eye if you so choose, but I don't think you'd want to. Seems friendly. Dry tree branches rustling in the howling wind. The sudden noise of a bat swarm crashing through the air. Hills and rocks bow before a blackened fort circled by a ruined stone wall. The building is a fortress of reinforced iron, with a few distinguishing features. A singular metal door next to, and uncharacteristically for a fortress, a glass window with a beautiful flower in a vase. A stone's throw from all of this is an iron enclosure, or rather, a giant cage, with bars tight enough to hide whatever creatures dwell within. You can tell someone is watching you. There is definitely movement inside the enclosure, but you're not certain that's the source. Set in the iron wall beside the door is an eye of crystal and bronze. It is magical and keeps watch for any movement. Some distance from the house proper is a circular pit leading down into the mines. You can see a ladder at the bottom, but from the pit entrance, there is no conceivable way to retrieve it. The pit is 40 feet deep. Next to the roof hatch is a small chimney that somehow transforms air into lava for the shower in Valvez's quarters. Spotted. Should the Eye detect anybody move past the stone wall, the roof hatch creaks open and the arm and hand shoots up like a tree, thick snake of oily flesh. After a moment's pause, it reaches for the iron enclosure, grabs a monster at random and hurls it at the player characters before retreating back into the hatch. Getting a monster thrown at you. To achieve maximum carnage, arm and hand aims for the largest group of intruders. Test agility in a dice roll of 12 or higher to dodge the incoming monster missile. The throw deals 2d6 damage to both target and the monster. Roll reaction if the monster should survive. And we got 4 different options of monsters. Lair entrance. Monsters cannot enter the lair. Beyond the metal doors await a sparsely decorated foyer. A second door leads farther in, and next to it is a set of ascending stairs. Dim light seeps in through the window, and the flower vase casts a 2 large shadows splashing across the floor and opposite wall. Anyone looking up at the high ceiling immediately notices a large iron cage hanging from a chain above the entrance. In the windowsill vase is a kiln rose, a beautiful roseate bloom with a particular trait. It sprays lava. When a living creature enters the room, it tests agility dice roll of 12 or higher, or be doused with molten rock for 2d10 damage. The flower can do this hourly. As soon as someone takes 1 step into this room, just before the kill rose vomits lava at them, they trigger a pit trap, sending them 6 feet down. The pit floor is a pressurized plate releasing the cage above, dropping it onto the pit to trap the unlucky intruder. The cage can only be destroyed by the iron sword found in the mines below. It can, however, be lifted. Test strength of a dice roll of 30 or higher. Multiple player characters can add their rolls together to test this. So we start in here. If players choose to go up into the attic, a desolate, dark, and soaked in the stink of some kind of old, strange animal. Raspy, growling snores break the silence. Something's big is layering here. This is the dwelling of Arm and Hand, the Vampire King's most endeared companion, and the only now living monster he can ever tolerate. It spends most of its time sleeping in the outside. Desolate, dark, and soaked in the stink of some kind of old, strange animal. Raspy, growling snores break the silence. Something big is lairing here. This is the dwelling of the Arm in Hand, the Vampire King's most endeared companion, and the only now living monster he can ever tolerate. It spends most of its time sleeping in a box, but will wake up and throw monsters at outside intruders should the alarm go off. The only other feature here are a table with an unlit lantern, a scorching hot metal pipe going floor to roof, and a roof hatch. In the box, Arm in Hand broods an egg that, if cared for, will hatch a fierce, armless creature the size of a cat with long, narrow horns and an appetite for blood. In the absence of Arm in Hand, it will declare one player character its mother and follow them anywhere. Illuminating the attic. Arm in Hand is light sensitive and wakes up the moment a lantern or torch illuminates this room. It will grab an intruder at random. Test agility DR of 12 or higher to dodge. Open the hatch and throw the victim into the monster enclosure outside the building. This deals D4 damage, but on the other hand, the monsters within the enclosure will be friendly. So again, we got the entrance leading up to that Arm in Hand room. And then we got the door to Valvez's quarters. What could lie behind the door? Let's find out. And lo, the innermost sanctum, Valvez's quarters, reeks of ancient undeath and insatiable evil. The Vampire King's private refuge, where he would spend most of his time scheming for world domination and the complete destruction of all monsters. Most features in this chamber are fastened to the ceiling. An arching metal pipe with hooks functions as a clothes rack for Valvez's regalia. A black velvet tunic and a pair of burgundy braids, but also the bleached skull of Monster Girl, the last human killed, and a former dear companion of the Vampire King. He keeps her skull as a memento and mourns her greatly. The skull grants the owner one additional omen daily. On the floor beneath it is a pair of discarded black hose and a broken hook. 2 steps away from the door is a mousetrap attached to a fishing line that releases a ceiling-hanging iron cage when triggered. A mouse runs across the floor, easily and tauntingly avoiding this trap. A more lethal device is the lava shower. It triggers when any living humanoid creature stands beneath it. Test agility DR 10 or be doused with lava, killing you instantly. Regardless, everyone in the room takes D4 splashing fire damage. The lava shower pipe leads into the ceiling, through the attic and up to the roof, where it somehow transforms air into lava. Right above the entrance is a wooden swing, where Vampire King himself sleeps, hanging upside down like a bat. Valvez, the Vampire King, undead headfooter, hell-bent on world dominion and monster eradication, tolerates humans as loyal subjects, but demands their complete submission. Flies at the speed of a bat. Has 30 health. All bladed weapons ignore his armor. Shield can break to ignore 1 attack. Spin Jitsu attacks twice per round. Sword or barbed tail or biting. He also has Blood Inferno, granted by his crown. Generate a force sphere that explodes into a hailstorm of lava and blood, dealing 2d6 damage to every creature in the room, crown wearer included. It takes 1 entire round to charge, can only be used once per full moon. Here is the room. That's hella cool. And finally, we have the mines. Cold, wet stone and the crushing weight of the dying lands above. Claustrophobic tunnels, holes in the world, eating their way into the blackest of nights. Silent darkness reigns. The pit leads down to a series of labyrinthine tunnels, and paths twisting and burrowing seemingly at random. They're narrow crawl spaces that won't fit two-player characters side by side. Make note of what order they crawl in. The tunnels are made by dog-sized ant-like bug creatures, thralls of the Vampire King. They dig for minerals and hidden treasures to bring him, hoping it will stay his blade. In truth, he has no use for them or their findings. He torments them merely for his sadistic pleasure. It's fucking terrifying. Stinky insects with human faces. They speak in slow motion to not accidentally spit acid. Want to be free of the Vampire King. The mine ants are hesitantly friendly and will aid the player characters should they declare their goal to confront Valves. If attacked, they will first try to escape but will fight to save their lives. During the player character's visits, the mine ants will break through the walls of a hidden cave where an old folk hero is buried. Inside the marbled sarcophagus is a mummified skeleton and the iron sword. The blade is inscribed with, "And all will shatter." The sword deals D6 damage but cuts through stone and metal like butter. Destroys armor or parrying weapons. And honestly, guys, that's it. Now we're just back into where the kids' drawings were. Now you can see, how that inspiration turned into all that really cool fucking artwork in that really cool dungeon. Honestly, this supplement seems super easy to run. It seems like it'd be a really quick one-shot too. There's not too many rooms, and the mines are completely optional technically, so players could completely miss that and skip it entirely, thus making it only a 3-room dungeon. Seems like it's very likely that players will die. There's a lot of really dangerous, deadly traps, and the boss is fucking terrifyingly strong. But seems like a very good starter dungeon for, a intro to Mörk Borg adventure maybe, or for somebody that just wants to play a good, fun, quick one-shot with their party. This is compatible with Mörk Borg, which is free online at mörkborg.com. Highly recommend checking that out. It's an awesome resource. That website has a bunch of cool things, including a character generator, so you can make a character within minutes and just jump straight into the fucking action. Highly, highly recommend checking it out. And also checking out the Lair of the Vampire King, because this is a fucking awesome supplement. I think it was only like $10 too, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it's 12 pages long, only a couple pages of the actual dungeon, and a bunch of the pages are just the artwork and, the explanation of how it came to be. But oh my god, this is a cool one. And I fucking dig this artwork. I'm always gonna love Johan's artwork. And honestly, whenever I get my Kickstarter stuff going for my Mörk Borg projects, I'm gonna try to commission him because it's fucking awesome. Look at that. Too cool. Anyway, you guys should definitely check this out. Definitely try it out. And or try making your own dungeon. If a 5-year-old can do it, so can you. I'm going to have to rate this one a solid 10 out of 10. This has everything you need. It's quick. It's a great intro one-shot. It's short. It's fucking awesome. It's full of heavy metal fucking traps. Just pick it up already. In case you guys didn't know and have been living under a rock or something, I'm doing a dice giveaway every single month. This month we have these really kick-ass metal as fuck dice. They're sharp, they're cool, they're unique. They've got a cool dragon egg, fucking time crystal thingy-majigger, a spike ball, some throwing knife type things. This is cool as hell. All you have to do to enter is participate in any of my Mörk Borg live streams where I'm going live playing the game or creating traps myself for my dungeon, or by commenting on any of my review videos, including this one, The Lair of the Vampire King. One lucky winner each month will get the lucky set of dice. If this one is one that you don't like, I'll show you guys the alternate set of dice here. Here's the alternate set. It's got some cool gears on it. It's different. Also metal, it's fun, very heavy, nice quality. These are both anywhere from $40 to $60 each. highly recommend just joining the giveaway. Super easy. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.